This episode of the All About Nothing podcast is sponsored by Soul House Sessions at the Koger Center for the Arts, hosted by Preach Jacobs of the Preach Jacobs podcast. Tickets for April 13th with featured guest, renowned culinary historian, author, and educator Michael Twitty are available now. Visit KogerCenterForTheArts.com or follow at Preach Jacobs on Instagram for details and tickets, or check the show notes. Do it right now. Seriously, hit pause, do it now, because this show will sell out. Soul House at the Koger Center with Preach Jacobs and guest Michael Twitty, April 13th. Do it now before you miss your chance.
The All About Nothing podcast may have language and content
that isn't appropriate for some. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, Nothingers, to the All About Nothing podcast. This is episode number 300. And I guess it's kind of significant in the sense that this is also your third time on the episode, Luke.
Yeah, it is. I've known you for just over a year.
Yeah, full year.
We met last year in March, and since then I've been on 2 other times talking about my YouTube channel, and then later Afghanistan. This time we're talking about my recent trip to Ukraine.
Well, I think this is an appropriate subject for our 300th episode with everything that's going on, your big trip to Ukraine. So we're going to talk about that here in a second. I am Barrett Gruber. Again, Zach not here this week. We'll see him soon. Please subscribe and share the show. That's how we get new listeners. Also, please consider supporting the show financially by visiting theallaboutnothing.com and becoming an official member and proudly calling yourself a true nothinger. We'll have more details on that at the end of the show. If you can't do that, please give us a 5-star review, a like, and follow us across social media. You can find links at theallaboutnothing.com. Our guest this week is Luke Basso, documentarian that records stories with veterans and witnesses to some of the wars and conflicts that have taken place. He gives his subjects a safe space to tell their stories, and they can be available forever, I guess as long as the internet survives. Luke is home now from Wilmington, North Carolina, fresh off his most recent visit to Kyiv, Ukraine, and he's here for a third appearance on the All About Nothing podcast to tell us all about his experience and how it all came together. Welcome, Luke, back to the show.
Well, thank you for having me on again.
I'm excited you made it home. The pictures that you sent, gave me a little bit of anxiety of the fact that you were in a bomb shelter at one point because of air raid sirens. Was there an active was there an active bombing or
Oh yeah, I heard multiple explosions right outside the bomb shelter. That was the last night I was there. That lasted several hours, and there was 2 other air raids that happened before that. When the air raid sirens went out the first 2 times, I didn't hear or see anything, so either they got shot down before I got there, or they hit a different part of the city. Now, the third one, that was later at night, and that's when I don't know why I decided to go to the bomb shelter that particular time, but I'm glad I did, because when I went to the bomb shelter, I started hearing explosions behind me, and then when I went inside, I started hearing more explosions, and then one giant explosion was right outside the bomb shelter, which is part of the hotel I was staying at.
Wow. Well, I want to remind everybody, your YouTube channel is Filmperia19 at Filmperia1945. You can check links in the show notes to see that. So how deep is the bomb shelter? Like, how protected are you in these bomb shelters?
Well, it just seems like, I'm guessing that shelter is already there before the war. It just seemed like a basement. Most bomb shelters are. They're just anywhere that goes underground. Like when the war started, lots of people were using underground railway stations as bomb shelters, or basements, or like I said, anything that can get you into cover.
Yeah,
it's just anything you can. A makeshift bomb shelter, pretty much.
Is the Russian ammunition not capable of penetrating into these basements? I mean,
no, because it's a direct hit. That's what needs to happen. It needs to be a direct hit to hit it.
Okay.
Because if you're in a bomb shelter, that's just to protect you from shrapnel. It'll never protect you from a direct hit.
Okay, gotcha. That is definitely not something that I knew or understood. So, the potential. So it's like I know it's a weird comparison, but people who do IED work, when they wear those giant those armored big Kevlar suits,
those big armored suits. Those are. It's probably not going to save your life, but at least keep your body intact. That's a weird comparison, but that's what came to mind when I thought of that.
And I am still just awestruck at the bravery of, because you're what, 21 now?
Yeah, 21. Yeah.
Goodness. Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I don't know when I think I wish you a happy birthday when it happened, but I don't. I don't remember what the date was. So thank you, Facebook. Thank you, Apple Calendar. Yeah, it was. I know that at one point you were planning on going to Ukraine sometime in the fall. Can you tell me what happened with that as far as why that
because
trip
I
didn't
wanted to
take
go with my
place?
dad, and he just didn't want to
Okay.
go. And
Okay.
there's more to that, but he ended up not
Yeah.
going with
Okay.
me. I ended
That's
up
all
going
right.
with someone else.
Okay. So how did it all come together for this trip? How long were you there? Like, what was the process of just an American going to Ukraine? Like
This one was a little
what?
easy. This one was a little
Yeah.
easier, but I didn't want to go alone, so I had more trouble finding someone to go with who qualifies to go with me. Because there's
Okay.
some people my age who want to go with me, but they have no experience for any of this sort of stuff. They're like, "Oh, Luke, I'll go with you." I'm like, "Well, you haven't left Wilmington pretty much all your life. I don't want. I'm just not comfortable you going with me." It's like, "No, Luke, trust me. You do your thing, I do my thing." I'm like, no. I want to go with someone with like a military background at least. And I'll definitely go with my friend Jody. She's a retired lieutenant colonel, and her
Okay.
reason was I think she's just bored of retirement and she wanted to go.
Okay. So, what was so as far as like the flights to get there? So I assume Wilmington to some other international airport
Yeah, and
in
then
order
we
to.
fly into the Netherlands and then fly into Poland. And then a 13-hour, I want to get a train ride, but it ended up being a bus ride into
Okay.
Kyiv. And on the way back, it was worse. It was like 17 hours, and there's like a 4-hour
God.
stop at the border, which sucked.
So Poland is, of course, right on the border with Ukraine. And Poland is one of those countries that I think that from a global political stance is, because it is a NATO ally, that is for the NATO for the NATO, that is the red line that will trigger potentially a significant I guess I'm trying to word it in a way that doesn't make it sound like, all out war, but basically it would trigger an incident with Russia and NATO that that I don't think anybody wants. I don't think Putin wants this, but there has always been this fear that that's what Vladimir Putin wants, which is to cross that line from Ukraine into Poland, that Belarus playing its role and such, but there's a significant amount of danger going on. An excursion like this. How, I guess, did you experience any of trepidation? Was this something I really wanted to do? Is it really worth it? What went through your mind?
Well, I've been wanting to do this since the war broke out. Well, when the invasion broke out in 2022, a lot of Ukrainians refer to the war when they annexed Crimea, when the Russians annexed Crimea, and when the war in the Donbass and Donetsk started in 2014. So I've been wanting to go since 2022 when the invasion started. No, I knew what I was getting into, and this is what I want to do.
What is life like for Ukrainians, just on a day-to-day basis? I mean, because obviously living in the United States, we don't have any sort of bombardment of missiles or ammunition raining down on us at any point in time. I don't even know that we would have the infrastructure that the Ukrainians have as far as sirens and things like that to potentially warn of an attack like that. But for just your day-to-day Ukrainian, what is it like, or what do you see from people that live in Kyiv, just under the potential threat of having an attack from the Russians occur?
Well, a lot of the times now they just ignore the air raid sirens or even the attacks because they're still used to it. It's just a daily thing now that
Wow.
it's part of their daily lives. They just move on.
Is Kyiv? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
A lot of them want the war to end at this point, obviously in their favor. But like, if it just stopped fighting, that's what it comes to. There's a lot of unrealistic goals of taking back Crimea or Donbass and Donetsk. A lot of civilians there, even the military, they just want it to end. They don't care what the cost is. Obviously, it's still in their favor, but it's it's to the point they don't care as much anymore.
One of the things that they talk about on in the news here is that there are, at least in some sections of the news, is that some of the areas that the Russians have taken since the invasion are areas that are Ukrainian Russians, that they are that there is this there's this sense that they accept that, you know, this is a territory that has gone back and forth before throughout, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years of history, that one group has claimed it or the other group has claimed it. So as far as a people, they just kind of accept that they're going to be one or the other from potentially one day to the next. Is that something that Ukrainians fully accept? Is it that they just see this as our, you know, we are a sovereign nation, but there's always the potential that Russia's going to want this or Belarus is going to want this, and we can fight for it, but, you know, is losing our lives worth giving up that territory?
As I said, the average civilian, they just want the war at the end of this point. They're just carrying on their lives as normal. So I didn't go to that. I didn't go to those regions where they're on the front line. So I wouldn't know what their mindset is. But I did meet some people who, at least the one, how to word this. They'll be speaking English or Ukrainian, but a lot of them, they'll text me in Russian, and I translate it into English. But it surprised me that some of them are texting Russian when we're in Ukraine and they're at war with Russia. But I guess that's what some of them are used to, especially some of the older crowd, the ones who remember the days of the Soviet Union, who were, you know, they were growing up then, they were already in 30 or 40 years old, 50 or 60 years old even. A lot of the older crowd is more kind of what you were saying, bringing back to its historic roots, Russia and Ukraine, as they're not really as patriotic or willing to fight. They're just, as I said, they just kind of accepted it as this is the war, this has been going on technically since 2014, and it's just part of their normal lives.
I can tell you're tired. I can tell you are exhausted, because you've only been back for about 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
But you aren't just doing Filmperia. Tell me about what else it is that you're involved in that is really taking up a good portion of your day, because it should be celebrated what you're doing. So just tell me, if you can break it down, what is it?
Well, to summarize, I'm part of a bunch of about seven. I'm active in 7 veteran groups or committees and organizations, and there's 2 other ones I'm not really as active in. I'm still part of them, but that's it's exhausting. That on top of college and on top of interviewing veterans. So, yeah, I know I'm tired. I've only been able to properly sleep 1 day out of the 2 weeks I've been back.
That is exceptional. Is there any, having been a civilian in a war zone, is there anything that is, I guess, having an effect on your ability to just be back home? I mean, do you even being home, do you listen out for air raid sirens?
Well, yeah, I've dreamt about Ukraine a few times, and I remember I think about a week ago we had some intense thunder and lightning, and I was subconsciously like going like that, like
wow,
like as like an incoming attack was happening. I didn't even realize that I was doing that. I realized that after I was doing that.
That's incredible. In Ukraine, how many interviews were you able to do?
So I was able to get 4 on my channel, and I talked to a lot of other veterans and soldiers there. They didn't want to be interviewed, and then some of them can't be interviewed because it's still an active conflict, and that same goes with our current United States military, active duty soldiers, sailors, and airmen. You need permission from usually their unit or one of their commanders. A lot of people. Okay, I interviewed 3 veterans and then 1 active duty guy, and I think he was more like, if my boss chews me out for this, it's whatever. But the majority, the majority of them didn't want to be filmed, and because for multiple reasons. Same with kind of the same reason why American veterans don't want to be interviewed, but also because some of them can't. But let's talk to me off record about it too. But I got 4 on my channel, and there's 2 more I want to get on Zoom. They've been going back and forth if they really want to do or not. they've been interviewed before, so it's not an issue of they don't want to talk about it or they can't talk about it. I just don't know if they want to do it or not because they've talked about it so many times.
Ukraine is a first world country.
Mm-hmm.
They have a robust infrastructure, even though it has been pummeled by the Russian attacks. So they have, internet, mobile, I'm assuming fairly stable internet, because we were chatting over Instagram while you were in a bunker. And also, I told Zach in an episode that we recorded the day after we'd messaged, I said, I really got to apologize to Luke, because I don't know how pushy I was about getting him on a live right then. But
well, yeah, that was the last thing I was worried about going on a.
After the fact, it felt inappropriate for me to be like, hey, jump on live. But
it was more whatever. I'm just like, okay, that's like I wasn't thinking about that. I was more worried about other stuff happening at that moment.
100%. I did want to highlight one of your recent videos that you uploaded recently, and I'm going to excuse me. I'm going to try and pronounce his name as best as I can. Vladislav Sinhovsky. Did I do it?
I'm not good at pronouncing four names either.
Okay. Well, if I'm okay to, I'd like to show a little clip of. Yeah, this is outstanding. It's incredible that you get these. It's incredible that you get to sit down with these people who are, in my mind, they're and to the people that they're fighting for, are out there trying to save their country and save their countrymen, and it's just absolutely outstanding. So let me share this real quick.
I joined the military in 2022 in November, but from the beginning of this full-scale war, I was active in volunteers, and we created International Territorial Defense Legion. We invited and supported and followed our foreigners who decided to fight on our side and who joined Ukrainian military forces. So for half a year, I was active coordinator who met mainly guys from abroad, from United States, Scandinavian countries, France, even Germany. So it was many people from different countries who fight together with us against Russian fascists. And but after half a year, I decided personally to join military forces, and I was active duty for 2.5 years, as I say. I visited we counted, we worked with 20,000 soldiers for 2 years, 20,000 soldiers for different brigades.
That is absolutely astounding. And again, kudos to you for being able to get to basically fly, or to travel to Ukraine. And I have to assume that because you've done this so well over the course of how many years now? We're talking almost 10 years, right? I mean, no, since your teen. So what, 13, 14, 15? I mean, you have built a reputation with veterans groups and things like that. So how much convincing does it take to try and get someone like he was a colonel, right? Did I get that right?
Major.
He was a major.
Oh, how I was able to get 3 of the 4 interviews was my friend put me in touch with. All they told me was, "Oh, this guy, he does stuff with veterans in Ukraine." I knew nothing about him, and I talked to him for over 2 months before I went to Ukraine, and he was trying to set some stuff up because originally I was going to go in November, and that didn't work out. His name is Vasil. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I think he used to be the acting minister of transportation for Ukraine, which is I didn't know that he was that position until we met in person. But that explains how he's able to get so many interviews for me within a short amount of time. And plus, he introduced me to a lot of other veterans and soldiers throughout my time there. No, I appreciate him a lot. I give him a lot of credit how I was able to pull all this, how I was able to get these interviews in just a short amount of time, because it wasn't, I had some scheduled and then they bailed out on me. And then he was like, oh, I know some people. Do you want to meet them? And it was more of some of the veterans I met at the moment. They go like, oh, I'll do an interview, or no, I won't do an interview. But he just kept on trying every day and getting people that he knew personally to come on my YouTube channel.
That's incredible. Getting that sort of assistance. Now, did you know him before you traveled there?
Yeah, we talked a few months beforehand. This on Facebook Messenger, because someone introduced me to him. Like I said, I wanted to go there in November. He was going to help me in November when I originally want to go there. But he was able to adjust, and I was able to adjust. Well, the three of us, me, Jody, and him, were able to adjust for getting his interviews last second. But, he's a former high-ranking official, and he still helps out with Ukrainian Parliament. So, of course, he's going to be able to know all these veterans and soldiers without any issues.
Yeah. Right now, just looking, you've gotten 4 videos from your trip to Ukraine up there. Are they all Ukrainians? Yeah. Because even with the gentleman that we just shared, he commanded, he said 20,000, or I guess he worked with 20,000. And he mentioned some of those were American, some of those were French. That came
surprisingly. Even still a lot of foreign volunteers fighting for the Ukrainians. I didn't meet that many. I think some British ones over text, and one Swedish one in person.
Wow, that's just amazing. I like I said, I'm in awe of the bravery that you have to go and travel, and while you still have plans for what it is that you want to do, you have a set goal of what it is that you have in mind to accomplish, and the potential is from one day to the next that there's just it might not happen, that there might not it might not be exactly what you expect, but then you continue to follow through, and then you have the outside possibility of air raid sirens going off. During any of your interviews or anything like that, did you all have any air raid sirens go off?
No, because no, that was mostly at night. The three ones that did go off. The only time I heard anything like that was my tour guide was Natalie for 2 days in Kyiv, and she does a lot of stuff on Instagram and TikTok, and she took us to a lot of the where the war was, where the destruction was still untouched, and a lot of the tanks and all that. But to answer your question, yeah, when we were over there, we went outside Kyiv, and I heard some explosions, and that was just Ukrainian forces training, and it wasn't like an attack happening. It was a mix of training and also blowing up landmines, not just deactivating them, but like blowing them up, because so people just don't step on them.
It's fascinating. So some of the people that you met, I assume, were civilians, just regular people day to day. That because we talked about how they didn't, at this point, they just want the war over. They just want to be done. And are most of the Russian attacks occurring at night under the cover of darkness?
Yeah, most of them are at night, at least where I was. They're mostly at night. I asked that same question to my tour guide, and she said there's been very few attacks that happen during the day. They're mostly at nighttime.
I can only hypothesize as to why that is. It's I guess it's just more difficult for Ukrainian forces to shoot down a potential missile coming in at night.
Yeah, at nighttime. Yeah,
feels dirty. And a lot of the attacks by the Russians aren't just on the Ukrainian military. They are on bombarding civilians,
but also like factories and infrastructure as well.
Yeah. I guess one of the things that I was always under the belief of until recently was that, we had a set level or a set rules of engagement, and that is that the United States doesn't doesn't target civilian infrastructure. We don't target hospitals. We don't target schools. We don't target bridges. You're smiling, but
the amount of war crimes the U.S. has done is I don't even know if there's a number for that. We've done so much horrible things.
But what, and not to call out the United States military, who is actively
I'm just saying on paper we say it's like with the CIA. They say that they apply by these ethics and they don't. So
right, but we know the Russians definitely do not. It definitely. I mean, obvious, just your experience walking around Kyiv, how often do you see buildings that are obviously damaged from some sort of engagement from the Russians?
Not as much as you would think. They're pretty good at rebuilding things within a short period of time, because I remember there was 1 or 2 houses that got blown up right before I got there, and they were already repairing it, and it was probably going to be done before I even left.
Okay, gotcha. So are let's say people like me who have a home and whatnot, are people's homes being just hit by Russian ammunition?
Yeah, most people have missiles and drones.
How does we move into a section of trying to make assumptions on what it is that we think the mentality of the Russian military is, but how does someone justify hitting what is clearly a civilian home? Like that doesn't. Because
let's say they're firing a missile from Moscow. It's a lot of the time they're just throwing everything they got at them. They're not just targeting one specific person's house. It's usually just blow up anything that's a building in the city, really.
Yeah.
Except when it comes to targeting, except when it comes to infrastructure, factories are particularly targeting that. But when it comes to the other factor, just targeting civilians, just like, let's launch as many missiles and drones at them, and if it hits a house, it hits a building, it's whatever, as long as we kill them. That's what the mentality, it seems like, is.
What is the response time when it comes to let's say a Russian drone has entered radar or whatever? How much time is available for someone to be able to get into a bomb shelter?
I don't know. Well, that's an interesting question, because most of the drones and missiles get shot down before they even reach the target. But Ukraine's such a huge country. A lot of people don't realize that, just how big that country is. Also, too, the Ukrainian anti-air systems, they're extremely effective. But even though most of the missiles and drones get shot down, obviously not all of them can get shot down. So a lot of them do hit their targets. But you had a question out about the answer that the response time.
As far as the response time, yeah.
When the air raid siren went off, because it went off 3 times when I was there, and I didn't know how that system worked, because I thought, when it goes off, the air raid must be over. Because the first went off, and I think all of them went off for only about like 30 seconds to a minute. I thought they were going to be over, but no. Most people have an air raid app that tells you when the attack's happening and where it's happening. So I don't feel like I was given much warning if I wouldn't have the app, because the air raid siren went off, and then it ended 30 seconds later. I'm like, oh, okay, the attack must be over. But no, it seems like they only give you 1 warning in Kyiv, and that's it, once you have the app.
Wow. It's incredible. I don't know if you can tell. I guess in my head, one of the things, because now that we're engaged in Iran, one of the things I asked a friend when I told them that I was going to be speaking with you this morning, I said, I wonder how quickly Luke is going to be trying to get into Iran.
Well, I don't have any Iranian connections or any connections in that.
Not yet.
Yeah, I don't know how to get to that point. The only connections I really have right now in the Middle East is ones in Afghanistan, who were actually texting me right before I went on this podcast. They were trying to call me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, not now. So
yeah.
But I don't have any connections in Iran, and I'm tired after just going from Afghanistan and Ukraine. So I don't think I'll be going to Iran anytime soon, or probably forever. I don't know. I just want to focus on veterans in the United States for a while now. I'm too tired after just all this.
So there's no plans to travel overseas this year. I assume.
Well, at least not in the Middle East.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I have to imagine the amount of planning you do for these trips, the connections that you have to make them. Obviously, it limits how quickly you can just get on a plane and go. But ultimately, I think what you're doing is incredible, because I want to focus a little bit more on the channel and your documentary or your documentaries, or the style that you do it, because obviously from the age of 15 years old, you have improved on the equipment that you use. Your style of how you're doing these interviews has been it's really improved over the course, and I think it's exceptional.
Thank you.
Even before. But the stories that you get out of these individuals, these veterans and things like that, and I know we've talked about it before, that there are stories that may never get told, because every day we're losing veterans from previous wars that could have had something to tell us that it's going to be lost to time now. How is that going with, and how much of your time is taken up by sitting down with what is potentially going to be a very difficult interview, just because of how old someone may be? Like, how much your time is taken up by trying to get interviews?
Well, the actual interviews don't take that long. That's maybe 30 to 45 minutes. The actual planning and finding them and convincing them, that can take. There's some veterans it's taken years to convince to get on my channel.
What's the art to convincing someone to come on the channel?
Well, back then, it was I wasn't taken as seriously, because I was a 15-year-old kid who wanted to interview veterans. Now I'm taking it more seriously, especially after going to Afghanistan and Ukraine, and I've interviewed 100-something veterans. I don't even know the number, but I need to check on that. Over time, I've got more credibility, and they take me more seriously.
Yeah,
and also over time too, especially for Vietnam guys. Even like 5 years ago, a lot of them were talking about it. Now more of them are talking about it now, just because time has went on and they understand that it's important to preserve history. With World War II and Korea, guys, I only know like one Korean War, only one Korean War veteran I know still alive, and maybe about, I don't even know how much World War II veterans now, but it's not that many.
Yeah, no, because you have to figure if they were 16, 17, 18 being drafted into World War II, they're nearing, if they're
100.
not nearing, they're over 100 years old.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what I'm going to be like at 100.
Well, I want to be like them if I'm 100.
Yeah. I just don't know how cognizant I'm going to be at the age of 100. Like, I mean, I have hopes. I don't even know if I want to live that long.
I do.
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
It's what it feels like, what have I experienced that I haven't experienced yet, that I want to experience? And for me, I think, seeing my kids grow and have families of their own, and then seeing those families grow up and have families and things like that, I look forward to that. But then I don't want to be somebody that's being shuttled around. And so I think that's my fear.
Yeah, a lot of these veterans, they're staying active, which is why they're able to live over 100 years old.
Well, that's great.
Now there's a few of them who actually there's one who's I'm trying to convince him to go out there, but he just sits at home all day and does nothing. But it seems like he wants to do that, so it's not like he can't. He's physically able to and mentally able to do other things. He just chooses not to.
You develop relationships with these people.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get the sense that you genuinely care about them outside of just getting them on film.
Of course, yeah. I see probably, like, as well, I just went down part of 7 groups. So I see a lot of these people on a bi-weekly or monthly basis.
Yeah. I would too. You definitely seem to have a level of empathy for what they're potentially experiencing now, and sympathy for what they went through. And I think that adds to how well you portray them in your videos. And because every time I get a notification, every time a video comes out, and they're always, I encourage everyone, regardless of how much you might support the military or how your attachment to the military. I think that it's absolutely
at the end of the day, to support these veterans, either if you agree with who we're supposed to be in said conflict or not.
Right,
I'm going to respect these veterans no matter what.
I think ultimately, for veterans of World War II and Korea and Vietnam, because at that time we had a draft. And you selected your selective service, and you would be drafted. And regardless of whether or not it was you support the wars, these veterans still did what they did. They still made what, if they're still alive, they still sacrificed themselves. They sacrificed their families. I mean, because it has an impact on the families at home when someone goes overseas to fight. And it's not about it has nothing to do with supporting, or it doesn't have anything to do with your approval or anything like that. People have to separate themselves from what their opinion is of something, of some action, and just be supportive of the people. That's one of the reasons that we had the thing recently where Kristi Noem, who is the Department of Homeland Security, was fired because she spent $220 million on an ad campaign that mostly featured her and, for some reason, the Department of Homeland Security. And I made the suggestion, and I even sent an email to my two senators and my House rep, and I said, listen, I said, if we've got $220 million to go out there and support a department that doesn't really need a commercial made for it, I said, you could use use $220 million and support the Department of Veteran Affairs, because this continues to be one of the most underfunded departments that has the most to gain from any amount of money that could be put into the system. Digitizing the files, adding doctors and nurses and psychologists and psychiatrists and things like that. Like, this is fundamentally one of the departments under the executive branch of the United States that would benefit from getting some attention. So create an ad blitz specifically for the Veterans Affairs. And it's such an easy thing to do, because I think that if people were to understand what it is that the Department of Veteran Affairs does and what it's charged with, then I think that as the public goes, there would be a larger outcrying for support. I think for the most part, there aren't a lot of people that don't support veterans. I think that for the most part, it feels like, even as a progressive liberal, that I have the utmost respect for what they've been asked to do, what they did, and how they got to come home. And so it's just, I think for the most part, most people in the United States feel that way. I think where we lose is the fact that there are so many people out there that think that the Department of Veteran Affairs has the funding, that the Pentagon somehow pushes money into the system to make sure that veterans are taken care of. And out of all of the veterans that I have that are friends, they will tell you right now, they don't have any confidence in being able to be seen in a timely manner, or being able to even see the same doctor progressively over and over, because they go in from 1 month to another. There's the potential that doctor isn't even there anymore, so they're almost having to start over every single time with whether it's their mental therapy. They're having to explain who they are, or it just seems like it's made extra difficult for veterans. And I think that honestly, a peacetime president that could take and make a focus for all of the veterans that are still here, I think that would be just an unbelievable. I would fully support that. Trump turns around tomorrow and says, "I'm going to take care of all the veterans. We're gonna give them. We're gonna make it so that they are that there is no limit to what we will do to provide for these men and women that provided for us or sacrificed for us, then I would support that. I would absolutely support that, and I hope that somehow this gets to him and be like, you know what, I haven't done enough for the veterans. That'd be great. My impressions there are terrible. I don't know if you've heard it before. Doesn't get better.
Yeah,
but it's important to me.
The VA, I've almost all these veterans have told me that it's a broken system and nothing really gets done and it's not helpful. It has so much potential, and these veterans are not getting what they need. Yes, a lot of them are celebrated, but they're not getting the medical, physical, mental treatment that they need after coming back from years of service.
It feels intentional. I'm not saying that our government goes out of its way to ignore the veterans, but so much of the homeless situation here in the United States is veterans that have lost the ability to take care of themselves. We have an infrastructure here that can support them. It's just about money and time and giving it some serious conscious thought, not just passive thought, but actually actively trying to make it better. And it's not a Republican versus Democrat thing. It is fundamentally other things get in the way. Do you see what is it like for veterans of other countries? Do you have a sense of how veterans in Ukraine or in Afghanistan are treated?
Well, for veterans in Ukraine, I asked about that. They don't really have American Legions or VFWs or really veterans groups. I did see a cafe specifically for the Azov unit, and I got to meet some people there, active duty and former members. But I think that's more like an independent thing. That's not like a government-funded or organization or anything similar to that. It's not like the U.S. where, like in the U.S., you go to the grocery store, you're going to see a guy wearing a veteran cap. You're not going to really see that in Ukraine ever.
Okay. Is that? I mean, and I'd have to look it up, and you may know, but does Ukraine have a universal healthcare system that sort of just accommodates for everyone rather than
I wouldn't know when it comes
to yeah.
I wouldn't know when it comes to healthcare.
Yeah, I was just curious because sometimes that plays a role in veterans' care, is if there is already a system in place that takes care of all of the veterans, or takes care of all citizens, regardless of whether or not they're a veteran or not.
No,
so
all I know is it's just the independent or individuals. It's just the independent. It's just the independent or individual people who are helping out veterans in Ukraine. Well, I know that the government is too. It's not like on the scale as the U.S. as
richest country in the world. By leaps and bounds. The availability of creating a solution here in the United States is more likely with the money that rolls around in the system than anywhere else in the planet. So we have the opportunity. We need a plan and we need someone to execute on that plan. So I want to talk a little bit about what you have coming up as far as the channel. I imagine you have other interviews.
Nothing too unique. I have a lot of interviews I haven't uploaded. I just haven't been able to. I still want to get the ones in Afghanistan translated. I haven't been able to do that. Just Ukraine has been on my focus for the last few months. That's why I want to get the 2 interviews from Afghanistan translated.
Well,
that needs to be a priority.
I'm excited about that.
I am too, because like I said, I don't even know what these guys said. I just know a summary of what they talked about.
So what's the process of getting them translated? Do you have to know someone that speaks Farsi?
I have a few different approaches. I need to figure out which one's the best one.
Okay.
I've written down somewhere. It's not as cut and dry as I wanted it to be, because I had people who were going to help me out and they're not helping me out. Some of them can't, some of them don't want to, and some of them didn't understand exactly what I was asking for either. So I need to find other ways or adjust. I need to adjust that situation, how I'm going to translate them to an accurate manner, because I want it to be accurate too. I don't want it to just be a summary as what I've gotten.
Yeah. I'd be curious if you could run them through like AI, like ChatGPT or
Gemini, but that's not always accurate too.
Yeah, I'd be afraid of that. Yeah, I guess that the difficulties of producing what you've already captured, I have to imagine it would probably stress me out a little bit. Like, you have content that is absolutely amazing, but the limitations of being able to, like you said, translate. Because what language do they speak in Afghanistan?
Pashto and Dari, and with Dari, it's only a few million people in the entire world speak it.
Wow, goodness, yeah, that makes it difficult.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it really difficult. Because there's.
I didn't even know one of them was Dari until someone told me, because I found one person.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, can you translate these there? And he's like, what language? I'm like, this is Pashto. And he looked at me, he's like, that's not Pashto. I'm like, what is it? He's like, that's Dari. I'm like, what's Dari? And I looked it up. I'm like, oh, never even heard of that before.
Well, if anyone knows anyone that can translate Dari, please reach out to Luke. His information's on his YouTube channel, Fimperia 1945. Check the show notes for that, because that would absolutely be incredibly helpful. There's got to be somebody that potentially works for the State Department, right? They're
are they willing to help me though? From the State Department, I don't know. Right. What are the gains? What are the gains from that from helping me?
Yeah, ultimately, I think it would have to be somebody that had time on their hands and an interest in honestly, put them in front of your channel and just say, this is important work. It's I only have a couple more questions that I want to ask, but have you had or potentially looked at having any interest in this being some sort of money-making venture for you that you could support yourself on?
That would make my life just so much easier if I was making money off of that. That's a goal one day. Just Afghanistan, Ukraine. That's just been my priority for the last. Actually, Afghanistan. I was originally planned that in 2024 summer. This is 2 years of work finally pulled off, and right after I got back from Afghanistan, I started playing Ukraine. 2 years, or at least almost 2 years of just constant planning and trying to pull this off on top of everything else going on in life. I can focus on other things like that being a priority as well.
Yeah. Would you consider working for some news outlet as
that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, as a correspondent of some sort of form.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw, there was a video of a British BBC reporter that was that basically just right over his shoulder, a missile landed, an Israeli missile, and it sounds like, based on what he reported, mostly felt like his opinion, but it seemed like Israel was targeting reporters in Lebanon, that their drones would potentially carry out a missile strike on a reporter with a cameraman.
No, I have not taken you to send me that. I do want to look at that.
Yeah, it was scary. The reporter himself had shrapnel in his arm, a significant piece of shrapnel. But I think those are extremely brave individuals that go into those areas. Lebanon is not an active war zone, except that Iran is targeting places in Lebanon, because we're between the U.S. and the Israelis. They're using air bases and things like that. But it's significant to know that you're there just trying to potentially get information out about what's going on in the most factual way possible, which is to be literally on the ground, and your life is in danger. And that video, if I can find it and I'll send it to you.
I do want to see that.
Sorry?
No, I like to see that video.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's exceptional. Like, and of course, I think I saw comments almost immediately after, or even in the comment sections that were saying, "Well, this is AI. This is AI," which I don't believe it. I don't know. And I'm probably one of the most gullible AI people, because I'll see something like and not it won't clue into me that something is AI. So I almost always have to take the stance of everything on the internet is fake now. every TikTok short.
There's a lot of veteran AI stuff now, and well, I can tell the obvious. It's the obvious crowd who's falling for it. Just old people. Be like, I'll see something on. It'll be like, oh, I just had my 102nd birthday. Wish me happy birthday. It's like obviously an AI guy. It's not an actual World War II vet. And it'll have like 2,000 comments saying, happy birthday, happy birthday. I'm like, okay, this is so fake.
That isn't helpful. That is not helpful. All right. Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you too long, Luke. I really, really appreciate you sitting down with me again on the heels of your return from Afghanistan. I'm sorry, from Ukraine. I look forward to more of the videos that you come out. I look forward to when you get the interviews from Afghanistan out there too. So I really hope that someone can, or if you take care of it, or if someone else can help you with it, that would be outstanding. Because I think that they have absolutely a lot. They have a ton of value to them, and I really hope that it turns into something big for you. But I truly appreciate the work you do to get these stories out there, because I don't see a lot of people doing that. I see almost nobody else doing that. And it's important work, and just really appreciate how much you put into it. So I don't know. That's just one guy.
I appreciate you saying that. I'm thankful for just those kind words. Really, thank you. I put a lot of work and effort into stuff like this, so it makes me happy that people appreciate it.
It's outstanding. I think the channel you have is fantastic. I think that the content is important. Ultimately, in the end, I think that it's absolutely important. I thank you very much, even as exhausted as you are, for taking the time to sit down with me.
I enjoy it. I want to be here. I want to be here and talk to you. So thank you. I find
what you do to just be absolutely interesting. So I want everyone to go and check it out. The YouTube channel is at Femperia 1945. You can check the show notes. Luke Basso is doing unbelievable work to show just how important these veterans are, their sacrifice, the stories that they have to tell, because in some cases it may not be documented, or it's not coming from the individuals that actually lived through it. And what your channel does is it provides a safe space for those veterans to tell those stories, so that it can be told from a firsthand account. And that's important. So, Luke, thank you very, very much for showing up on a Sunday morning. Get some rest, but then get some work done, because it's distracting.
I also have college homework too. College is the last thing I think about.
I bet.
I go to college on the side too.
Yeah.
That's the most boring. That's the most boring part of my life. I feel like I'm gaining very little from. I think I talked about that with you last time, so I won't repeat the same things I talked about. But I don't value college as much as I probably should.
Yeah, I don't. School was definitely one of those things, especially because college year school. Because I didn't have that college experience where it was the frats and the parties and the stuff like that, because I didn't have any interest in that. I had 3 jobs at one point when I was first time I was in school, and then any time that I went back to school over the course of 20 years, I had a full-time job. I had kids, and trying to go to school at the same time, it just it becomes less of a priority. And I've accomplished a decent career without it. I'm not saying don't go to school. That's not what I'm telling you. But sometimes school is more about the credentials than it is about the actual experience.
I'll keep on pushing through. I'll just keep on going, but it's really whatever. I'll take any time in Ukraine or Afghanistan over any day in college.
%. I think that's the appropriate attitude to have. Again, not encouraging people not to go to school. Sometimes what you can learn outside the classroom has absolutely more value to it than what you would learn sitting at a desk or online. Well, Luke, I really appreciate you being on the show with us. That is going to wrap up episode number 300. Make sure to check out Luke's YouTube channel at Filmperia. I don't know why I put a weird pronunciation on that. It's at Filmperia. That's weird. At Filmperia 1940. I'm still doing it. At Filmperia 1945. YouTube.com. Go check it out. Subscribe. Turn on the notifications. You want to, you absolutely should see these videos, especially right when they come out, because they're incredible. So, Luke, thank you very much. Links to all of our past episodes, podcast platforms, merchandise, and social media are available on our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com. And if you think our financial model of giving away free content and entertainment is silly and you're in the giving mood, why not become an official Nothinger and support the show? Members get early access to this episode as well as exclusive content. Visit members.theallaboutnothing.com, or you can find a link on our webpage. You can also give a one-time donation through the same link. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can call and leave us a message, 803-672-0533, or you can email the show at theallaboutnothing.com. You can also join our Discord server, links found on our webpage. Thank you for listening, everybody. You all stay safe, be kind,
and keep your hands to yourself.
The All About Nothing podcast is a product of Big Media and produced and engineered by me, Barrett Gruber. Thanks to Cake for our intro music, Sick of You. You can follow Everything Cake the band at cakemusic.com. Thanks to Muff the producer for our outro music. You can follow Muff on Instagram at Muff the producer. You can follow me across social media by visiting Linktree/Barrett Gruber, and you can follow Zach King on Linktree/AAN Zach. Want to support the show? Visit our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com, and become a member. There are several tiers available that give you early access to episodes as well as exclusive content. To find links to our social media, podcast platforms, and merchandise to support the show, as well as past episodes, visit theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can email the show at theallaboutnothing.com, or you can call our number and leave a message. Dial 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is more than you can handle, check out our sister shows. What the Pod Was That with Carrie, Zach, and myself. Welcome to Wonderland with Ami. Politically Speaking with Erica, Kirsten, and Emily. And Black, White, and Blue in the South with Dr. Jameel Brooks and Bill Kimmler. Please subscribe and share this show. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe and punch that notification bell. Thank you for listening, and hear us next week. The preceding podcast is solely owned by the host or hosts and is distributed by Big Media, LLC. Copyright 2026.